go, Jet fans. We capture a win. Zach Wilson's back. The Jets beat the Steelers 24-20.
J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets!
Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, the Jets are back. Zach Wilson's back. We improved to 2-2 on the season, back to 500. The Jets beat the Steelers 24-20 in what was kind of a nail-biting game. This was incredibly frustrating, I'm not going to lie. It felt like the Jets were in control the majority of this game, but it felt like they were trying to come from behind ever since like 2 minutes left in the second quarter, first half of the game, that sort of a thing. Super frustrating, but very good to be on the winning side of that. Let's jump into my top 5 takeaways from today's game. And first off, I want to start on the offensive line, namely Elijah Vera Tucker moving from right guard over to left tackle. This was something that we had talked about when he was drafted. He played left tackle at USC, and we always said, hey, in the event Becton gets hurt, or in the event there's a situation where you need a Moses or you need a Fant or someone like that to plug in, Elijah Vera Tucker, you could throw him at left tackle in an emergency situation. Well, the Jets are down to an emergency situation, and he wound up starting at left tackle and played pretty well. Very happy with what we saw from him. Now, you still had Max Mitchell on the right-hand side, and I do wonder if the success of Mitchell prior to today and the success of Fant last year playing next to Elijah Vera Tucker was a nod to Elijah Vera Tucker and how well he has played across multiple different positions, left guard, right guard, left tackle. He had himself a good game today. Now, Max Mitchell winds up going down with a knee injury. Fingers crossed it is not a serious one. Connor McDermott winds up slotting in behind him, and that was something that Jet fans really didn't want to see because Mitchell has been the young gun in the 4th round that we've been able to kind of rely on these last few weeks. So hopefully he winds up coming back healthy. Now having McDermott on the right-hand side doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies, but at least it allows Zach to see the pressure coming in his face. We had Herbig slot in at the right guard position, and now it feels like the left tackle, left guard, center side of the offensive line could help to generate a little bit more running the ball success through that left-hand side of the line, or at least provide some protection where Zach doesn't think he's going to get blasted all the time from that left-hand side. So across the board, I really like what we've gotten at Elijah Vera Tucker. Do I want to see him stay there long-term? I'm not opposed to it. I mean, left tackle is incredibly important. Would I love to see him slot in at right guard or left guard or whatever, just to be an offensive lineman? Stability on this offensive line across the board would be huge. But if he has to stay at left tackle because of our injuries and because he's winding up being our best tackle, totally fine with that, whatever protects our quarterback the most. Now, number 4 on my list, this is something that I've been getting on this guy about for a long time, Lamarcus Joyner. I did want us to re-sign him. I was having serious buyer's remorse the first 3 weeks of the season, but he came out in a big way. He wound up having 2 interceptions, 1 big-time interception, and 1 deflection that allowed Whitehead to get the interception on Pickett's first pass in the NFL. So that was a long bomb of a play, and Whitehead played well safety-wise. Joyner wound up playing really well safety-wise. Joyner, now, for me, this was easily his best game. He has been a thorn in my side because of what felt like a lack of speed, maybe some miscommunication. Hopefully, this is the trending up of him starting to get his feet wet back at the safety position. Remember, he played nickel his last 2 years with the Raiders. Last year, he wound up tearing Achilles, didn't really play for the New York Jets at all. So hopefully this is a tick in the right direction and maybe a trend that we're going to see moving forward because we need some serious safety help. And today the safeties did play well, most namely Lamarcus Joyner. Now we had a pass rush sighting today, right? Feels good. Jets had 3 sacks in what felt like some pretty good pressure situations. Quinnen, Lawson, and Jermaine Johnson all come away with a sack. Now this was a defensive line that we finally got to see Bryce Huff winding up starting opposite Lawson. We've been seeing John Franklin Myers, we've been seeing a little bit of Michael Clemens, and they've had Bryce Huff as kind of a healthy scratch. And it's been kind of puzzling to fans because he was so productive in the limited pass rush snaps that he had last year, so we wanted to see him on the field. And while he did not get home and create a sack for himself, he was able to create a lot of pressure and allow other guys to wind up getting sacks as well. So I've really enjoyed what we got to see out of this defensive line in particular, it felt like they bottled up Najee Harris for the most part. I mean, I think he had 74 yards in total. Quarterback-wise, they had, looks like just over 200 yards, 204 yards passing on the day. So this defensive line generating that little bit of pressure, this back end being able to take advantage of that pressure and get the interceptions. These are the turnovers that we're talking about. This is what this Robert Saleh defense and this Joe Douglas mindset, pass rush up front, guys that are ball hawking, safeties, corners, read, sauce, that sort of stuff on the back end. So across the board, really liked what we got out of our pass rush with our front four after a very critical analysis of our coaching staff last week with the whole cycling guys in and rotation and whatnot. So very happy with what we got out of our guys today. The next thing up, going to be our young quarterback and the Steelers' young quarterback. Kenny Pickett winds up playing his first game in the NFL coming out after halftime. He winds up going 10 of 13 for 77 yards, had 120 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. One was a bomb at the end of the game, so you kind of brush that off a little bit. Zach Wilson comes back. First action we've seen from him since the preseason. He had 2 or 1 and like a half drives, 1 and a portion of a drive in preseason. 18 of 36, 50% completion percentage, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had 1 passing touchdown, 1 receiving touchdown. That was on the Philly play where Berrios threw him the ball. Which oddly enough was the first time a Jets quarterback had caught a touchdown, which kind of is surprising to me. I thought we had one last year with Mike White, but I guess I'm wrong on that. It's probably just a run-in. But either way, very excited from what we got from Zach Wilson. This was kind of the type of game I expected him to have. Lots of highs, lots of lows. Now, the part that really bangs my head against the wall or makes me want to bang my head against the wall was the final 2 minutes of the first half when you had Zach Wilson throw a really bad interception when the Jets were in field goal range. Jets could have gone up 13-3 on the Steelers. The Steelers wind up coming back down the field. Carl Lawson winds up having a penalty and now gets them into field goal range after the half has already ended. They kick a monster field goal and wind up having the Jets have 10 at halftime and the Steelers have 6. So it was a 6-point swing right off the bat. And then coming out of halftime, the Jets have the ball. Zach Wilson throws an interception. He ends up bouncing off the hands of Tyler Conklin and into the awaiting hands of, I think it was Minkah Fitzpatrick. So that was frustrating. That was a real big swing. They wound up scoring a touchdown later that drive. So you're talking a 13-point swing in what felt like maybe 10 minutes of game time. That part was frustrating, but to be able to come away with a win, Zach Wilson's fourth quarter performance, the poise that he showed, the maneuverability within the pocket to extend plays, and the stone cold persona or stone cold like presence about him to get these third down conversions, a fourth down conversion. Zach played really well towards the end of this game. He wound up hitting some of his favorite targets in Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. Elijah Moore and Corey Davis. I would like to see Garrett Wilson get a little bit more involved. It seems like right now Zach has had the most rapport with Corey Davis, with Elijah Moore, with Tyler Conklin as it stands right now. So I think as you get further and further into the season, you'll see Zach Wilson have a little bit more success there. And Kenny Pickett, look, first game as a rookie quarterback, 77%. Literally his 3 incompletions were 3 interceptions. So not as terrible of a first performance, but I think they were trying to capture the Jets sleeping a little bit and having the ability to have a quote unquote powder puff game against us, but screw them. We wind up beating them 24-20. Really like that. Now I want to touch on my final topic, and that is the coaching of Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, and Jeff Ulbrich. Penalties have still been an issue. We saw that towards the end of the game. Michael Carter winds up running in for a touchdown, but there was, the false start by Michael Carter. It was the holding penalty or the illegal man downfield or whatever it was. So the penalties have still been an issue. We've seen pass interference, Carl Lawson, namely at the end of the half, causing a big problem. So I want to clean that area of our game up. That is still on the coaching staff 110%. But overall, after an incredibly critical week from the coaching staff and from, the fans blasting the coaching staff. I thought Robert Saleh had a really nice game today. I thought the defense showed out, getting the 4 turnovers, 3 sacks. They responded in a big way. Not an incredibly challenging opponent by any stretch of the imagination with a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett and, obviously Mitch Trubisky bouncing around the last few years. But I did think that the defense played well. I thought they showed some fight here, and they wound up beating a team that they should beat. And the Jets wound up being in this game, what felt like in control of this game the entire of the game, with the exception of like the Zach Wilson kind of foul up between the second and third quarters. Aside from that, I thought the coaching staff did really well. On the offensive side of the ball, Mike LaFleur, I really like getting Elijah Moore back into this game plan a little bit more. I really like getting Corey Davis involved because Zach Wilson obviously has a connection with him. And then I do like the way they kept the Steelers off balance. Like Zach did have to make a lot of plays with his legs, some smart decision making across the board there. There was one play where he wound up, it was the handoff to Michael Carter, wound up running to one side, flips it back to Zach. Zach misses it. It's a live ball, fumble in the backfield. Zach Wilson has the presence of mind to grab it, pick it up, and chuck it out of bounds because he's still able to throw that ball. It winds up being an incompletion rather than like a 8, 9, 10-yard loss. Now, obviously, we had the interception shortly after that, so it kind of negated that. But that was a positive play that our coaching staff has started to instill in our young quarterback. These are positive plays moving forward. Mike LaFleur having the read option. This is something I wanted to see more of last year, allowing Zach Wilson the option to hand off the ball or pull it and throw. And I think that keeps the defense off balance, and it almost allows your offensive line a little bit more time because it gives you that little bit more of protection. The edge can't necessarily crash down on the quarterback if he thinks there's going to be a run. He has to at least stay honest and kind of, set the edge as opposed to crashing down. So across the board, I really liked what we got out of the coaching staff from all 3 facets of the game: offense, defense, special teams. Thought it was overall a team win, and it was just a rusty Zach Wilson coming back for the first time in 6 or 7 weeks that kind of made this game closer than it really should have been. Guys, I have my every throw from Zach Wilson posted. If you want to take a look at that, you want to see how this offensive line performed, how the wide receivers performed, how our quarterback performed overall, you can check that out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. How did Zach Wilson do? How did the rest of this team do? How do you feel being 2-2 through 4 weeks, boys and girls? Screw Brady Quinn. No 0-9 for us. Let me know in the comment section down below how you feeling. And as always, go Jets.
Jets!